Earlier this week, I traveled to give a corporate keynote at an in-person internal event. Now, I can't share the name of that company with you, but I can share the topic because I think it's one of the most important topics there is when it comes to power skills, which you may know as soft skills today. With the pace of change, your ability to bounce back from setbacks, to rise to challenges, to keep on going even when it's hard is more important than ever. And so today, I want to share with you an excerpt of that talk that I've recreated just for you in the virtual environment. So come with me as I talk about the art of developing resilience. My lungs were burning as I ran. I could hear my own ragged breathing in and out, in and out. And I could hear the thump of my own feet on the turf and the rapidly approaching feet of the other runners coming up behind me. So I'm in high school running the 1,600 meter or 1 mile track race. It's a 4-lap race around a track, and I am pushing as hard as I can. And I hear the breathing of the other runners as they get close and then they pass me. Now, when they pass me, I stumble. I start to slow down. I stop pushing myself to run as hard as I can because they were not just beating me by a little bit, they were lapping me. Now, if you've never experienced the shame and embarrassment of being lapped in a track race, this meant those runners were so much faster than I was that they had been able to do 2 laps around the track in the time that it took me to do just 1. And it wasn't just one runner either. It was a pack of about 6, and I was now dead last in this race. As this shame and embarrassment of that seeped in, I wanted to stop running. I wanted to quit the race, to give up. But then I look across and I see my track coach. So my track coach had been waiting at the finish line, cheering on the other faster runners on our track team. I was the only runner on the team still left on the track, and he sees me and he starts jogging over. And when he gets to me, on the inside of the track, he stays with me, jogging with me as I keep on going. And well, actually, jogging's probably not the best word. He was really speed walking because he could literally speed walk faster than I was running. And when I saw him next to me and saw that he was going to stay with me, even though I was in last place, even though I was the slowest runner in the race, even though I was coming in dead last again, I keep going. And I finished that race. Now, you might be wondering, why didn't she stop? Why didn't I stop? Why was I putting myself through the misery of running? You'll notice I said again I was in last. Again, I had been lapped. This was not the first time this had happened. I was objectively terrible at running. I still don't love running to this day. So why did I keep on going? Well, in one word, I'm going to tell you. And that one word probably isn't going to be what you think it is. That one word is tennis. So I had decided that I was going to be the best player at my high school. Women's tennis is a fall sport, and I knew that in high school, matches, especially tiebreaker matches, of which there were many, were won or lost based on how good of a shape you are in. I also knew, knowing myself, that me trying to will myself to get up in the morning, run by myself, run after school, that wasn't going to work. I was not going to be motivated to do that by myself. So I joined the track team because I knew that if I had to train with a team, that would get me in good enough shape in the spring, because track was a spring sport, in order to do well in the fall when tennis season rolled around. Now, this decision was a decision that I doubted many, many times because those track practices were really, really hard. I remember running up and down stairs when it was too icy and cold to be outside and feeling like I couldn't breathe, wanting to fall over. There were multiple track meets where I was last, where I was lapped. I did this for all 4 years of high school, and the first 2 years, I think I was last in virtually every race I was in. So many days when every part of my brain and body was screaming at me to quit. But then there were my teammates and my coach speed walking beside me. And this happened more than once. Every time it happened, I thought to myself, oh no, not again. I'm so slow that I'm last again and he has to speed walk with me. But then that embarrassment turned into a different thought, into, well, I can't let him down, because if he's willing to be with me in the embarrassment, in the awkwardness, because surely this had to be as awkward for him as it was for me, because let me tell you, there were not other coaches doing this. If he's willing to be with me in that embarrassing moment, well, then who am I to quit? I have to keep going. 4 years of high school track. I never won or even medaled in a track race. Not once. I was so proud of myself when I was in the middle of the pack and not dead last. And this wasn't because I wasn't working really, really, really hard. No matter how hard I worked, I never got objectively good at running track. But tennis I did get pretty good at. My record in high school, especially when the matches went to 3 sets, I didn't win every match, but when they did go to those tiebreakers, in the tiebreaker, I was virtually undefeated. And that was because I didn't get tired. When other players dragged, I was chasing down those tennis balls like it was the first set of the match. And I could do that because I had been willing to be okay with trying and sucking at running track. Now, running track, showing up when I didn't want to, keeping going when it was really hard, when I was objectively bad at it, finishing what I started because I had made that decision that I wanted to get in shape, that changed something fundamental about how I looked at life. I learned that I can trust myself to do hard things. I can trust myself to rise to challenges. And here's what I know now that I didn't know then. That feeling of slogging along, of wanting to quit, of knowing that you need to push through anyways, it doesn't just live on a track that I left behind in high school. It shows up at work. It shows up in life. It shows up anywhere that you might be experiencing challenges, and you may be feeling that right now. Now, it turns out that there is a pattern to building this kind of trust in yourself. I'm not a unicorn. I'm not anything special. But what I discovered years later when I started researching and coaching leaders in STEM is a framework that you can grab onto, repeat, use to help you build resilience. And so the work I'm talking about, so I worked in consulting engineering for 15 years before I started my own company. And when I started my own company, my work began with women only. It now spans leaders of all genders. And it includes research for my book, She Engineers, over 100 case study interviews with STEM leaders that was published in a white paper, the She Leads STEM Leaders Report. And I found the same pattern every time. And so I want to share that pattern with you today as a framework for building resilience so that you too can meet whatever challenges come your way. I think a lot of times we overcomplicate resilience. And so today I want to share with you just 3 words, the framework for building resilience, so that you too can do whatever you want to do. Okay, so first we have decide, then act, then support. And so I want to help us embody this. So decide, that means that you are going to decide who you want to be in the moment. So in that track story, I had decided I wanted to be in really good shape. And I made that decision before I was in really good shape. So you're deciding who you want to be before you are ready. Then we have act. Okay. And so you can see I'm making the affinity loop with my hands. Decide, act. And with the acting, we are doing the thing that we need to do to embody who we've decided to be. It's the tiny act, the small moment act, the decision to keep on running around the track, the decision to keep on doing the training, even though it's really hard, and to show up in that moment to do the thing that you need to do. Decide, act. And then support. And support is what you are seeking and receiving that helps you to see the struggle as part of the process, as growth. So in my example on the track field, my coach speed walking with me, that helped me see, okay, yes, I'm struggling, but this is how I grow. This is how I get better. This is part of the process. He could have berated me. He could have yelled at me for, why are you so slow? That wouldn't have been support. I very well might have quit had that happen. But he was willing to be there with me in the awkwardness of this. So decide, act, support. Now, embodying it, if you can do the motion with me, decide, act, support, is important to helping us remember things. And you may be wondering, why didn't I draw an infinity loop or something like that? Well, the decide and act has to be encompassed by support. And traditionally, if you look at many religious cultures, when you put your hands out like this means you are open to receiving. And I very deliberately picked this motion because sometimes we think of support as a hug that's a closed loop to us. And if you are like many of the people I work with and coach, number one, you understand what having hands open to receiving feels like and looks like. And number two, you may struggle with receiving. That, hey, it's fine if I give to everyone else. But when it comes to actually receiving help and support, actually asking for that help and support, we might struggle. And so this is a symbolic way to embody the framework and say, I am open to receiving. I'm open to giving that support. Decide, act, support. And here's the thing about this. Once you decide, act, support enough times in any part of your life, on the track field, at work, maybe when you're caring for your kids or elderly parents, once you repeat this pattern enough times in your life, you develop an inner strength and confidence that you can trust yourself to figure nearly anything out. And once you build that trust in any area of your life, you can take it with you in every area of your life. Decide, act, support. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that excerpt from my in-person keynote earlier this week. If you are looking for presentations, workshops on leadership and communication, and you are a STEM professional or part of a STEM organization, contact me. I'm happy to talk more about what may be right for you on the leadership, communication, training, and coaching side. My contact information is below this video.